What's going on, guys? Let's talk about a very simple 3-day training framework that I've been using a lot for lifters as they transition out of a starting strength NLP and get more into the intermediate world. So a couple things just to address up front with this particular type of split is after the NLP, if you read the practical programming for strength, there's a few different options that most people go to. They transition either into a Texas method if they're trying to do a 3-day split, which is very recovery. It's very intense. There's a lot of recovery required. It's for the type of lifter who is aggressive in their strength goals, who has a high recovery capacity and is willing to do what is required of them to gain body weight and get under the bar for a lot of volume throughout the week, okay? The other split will be kind of a heavy, light, medium type approach, which follows kind of a Texas method. They're kind of a similar structure, as well as a 4-day upper-lower split. Now, what I've found with a lot of my lifters over the years is that the NLP is so attractive because it's simple and it's 3 days a week. But as you transition out of it into intermediate training, we need to be able to do something that is sustainable, right? So maybe you are in a space where you can't put as much time and effort, intensity, and recovery capacity into your training as some other people can. So maybe you have a family, job. Maybe you're trying to balance other sports and activities. If you're a jiu-jitsu guy, if you are you do any other type of sport, or you just can't dedicate as much time and effort into training as others, but you still want to get strong and reap the benefits of it, right? The other thing is we're looking for something that's adaptable to you. So as you advance in your training, does your framework have the ability to build in what you need to do to make progress? Okay, and then again, this is more so for lifters that just that have less recovery capacity, because if you have the ability to do that, a Texas method is probably going to get you progress a lot faster. Okay, so this is the perfect dedicated recreational lifter split, in my opinion, that's been working for a lot of people after their NLP who want to get strong, but they can't put as much effort and time and energy and resources into it as the people that are very dedicated to strength. So here's kind of how I structure this. On day one, we're gonna start with a heavy squat. And when I am using the word heavy here, I'm using heavy by way of stress. So this doesn't always mean the most weight when I say heavy, it just means the most stress, okay? So your heavy stress squat. Now, this can be for an early intermediate lifter or the late novice lifter, this can be just like 3 or 4 heavy sets of 5 reps, and we're adding weight. This could mean top sets and back off. This could mean triple. We could be bleeding it out over time. We could be cycling intensities in this slot week to week, but overall, this is your heavy squat day, followed by a heavy stress bench or press. Okay, so for a lot of people, once they get past the NLP, they want to focus on their bench, or they want to focus on their press, or they want to focus on both. There's options for all of those. So what would happen there in that slot is, I'll get to that, but there's going to be either a heavy stressful bench day here, or a heavy stressful press day here. And then we fill in accessory work that we need here. This is a great slot for things like chins, arms. After the NLP, it's always, everybody's kind of rearing and really wanting to get some of those things going. More arm work. Coach, when can I do more arm work? When can I get more pump work? Well, here's a good place to do it in. You've already been doing chin-ups, and that's exactly where we put those in, okay? Then come Wednesday, we do either a bench a bench, or a press. So if you benched on Monday, you'll probably have your overhead press day here. And this will likely be fairly high volume and high intensity for the one that you didn't do on Monday. It can be a 5x5, a 4x5, something along those lines. Followed up by your heavy deadlift. Okay? So you're not going to actually squat this week, because something that I see with a lot of people is after they have been grinding on squats 3 times a week for months, we have been doing light days. Well, this is kind of where things like overuse injuries start to kick in. Guys' shoulders starts to flare up from all the low bar squat grip. And I've done both light days in here, which definitely works. But I've also had a lot of success with just eliminating squats midweek, because you're getting a ton of stress from your deadlifts. So if you're squatting light, they eventually get heavy enough that they impact your deadlift here. And it's better to just focus on one lift. Again, this is a very specific category of lifters. And so then you're doing a heavy deadlift. Now there's options here for a couple different things. A lot of guys need a little bit more posterior chain work, or they're trying to work on something like a power clean. So I'll put that in this slot too. Either we do posterior chain work, you can think like some additional RDLs. Let's just use that for an example, after your deadlifts. Or if you're gonna do cleans, you do power cleans before you do your heavy deadlifts. So you got a nice quick day there in the midweek where you're hitting your bench or your press, you're hitting your heavy deadlifts. Again, heavy sets of 5, heavy sets of 3, bleeding it out, or cycling intensities, and we can talk about that later. We're just overall looking at the framework, okay? And then on Friday, we switch things up and we do what's more considered a medium squat. And when I say medium, again, it's the stress. Or it can be a variation. So on this medium day, it could be just a little bit less volume and intensity than on Monday. It could even go Texas method-y, where we hit like a intensity day, so like 1 hard set of 5. So it's your heaviest squats of the week from a weight perspective. Or a little bit less volume, but the stress is going to be medium there. This is also a great slot as you advance to start doing different variations. Guys that have like torn up shoulders for whatever reason, like jiu-jitsu athletes, we low bar squat once a week, and then at the back end of the week, you do a Mars bar, or maybe you do a high bar squat to lay off the stress on the shoulders. There's options if your back is tweaky, you've already squatted heavy, you've already deadlifted heavy, you could drop a belt squat into this slot or something along those lines. Okay, so just know that there's a way to put in variation. Then we do kind of a medium bench or press. And this is another slot where it can be higher intensity maybe. It could even be a different variation. I find that things like close grip bench do really well in this slot for people, or any of the number of different variations of bench. Pin bench, close grip, spotto bench, anything you can think of, you can slap in there with some extra accessories. So things like rows, it's a great slot to put those in. It could be barbell, it could be whatever you want. You can put a more shoulder, arm work in there. And what you'll notice with this split, and here's the fundamental concept, is that we have 2 main slots, okay, over the course of the week. We've got 2 heavy squat slots, we've got 2 heavy bench slots, plus a press slot, or it could be 2 press slots, plus 1 heavy bench slot. And a lot of times over the course of like a week, what you can do, over the course of 2 weeks, what you can do is heavy bench, we press, we medium bench. We heavy press the next week, we bench and then we do a medium press. So you can see over the course of 2 weeks, you're getting 3 exposures to each of the upper body lifts. And then over the course of a week, you're getting 2 squat exposures and 1 deadlift exposure, okay? So I'm not gonna give specific rep ranges for this because it varies so much. But like when it comes to the heavy deadlifts, what you're looking for each week, 5 to 10 hard reps. Okay, this medium day, squat somewhere between 15 to 20 reps if you're going for medium in comparison to over here, or you can go higher intensity, more weight on that side, okay? So there's just a lot of variation within this framework, and it works literally from anybody, like post NLP. This is a great split because it takes away your requirement of squatting heavy 3 times a week. It puts in some adaptability that you can adjust to your level of training advancement and what your goals are over time. So this is kind of my like ground zero framework that I'm working in a lot with the post-novice lifter. If you need any help or you want to set this up custom tailored to you, I am always taking on new lifters online. You can absolutely just drop onto the link in my bio. You can book a free strategy call where we talk 15 to 20 minutes about your training and how to get that thing and how to get it dialed in. And we chat a little bit about the logistics of how it's gonna work for you to work with me. So if you want to just kind of skip trying to figuring this thing out for yourself, and you want some guidance on form and feedback and everything, hit up that link in the bio and I'll chat with you soon. Other than that, hopefully you have a pretty good idea of what to do if you are post-novice and a decent way to split your training up.